Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We're going to decompile some Symphony of the Night today. Working on the clock tower. We found the Cloak Knight and basically all of his stuff yesterday. We're going to keep working on that. I did all of the functions except for the sword. So we have the sword today, and we should be able to get that done, hopefully relatively quickly, and we'll see if we can merge the PSP and PlayStation versions into a single file. And if we can, that's great. Then we can get rid of the PSP specific file. If you're not familiar with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night decompilation project, you can go to soten.z.dev and learn more about it and see the progress of the overlays that we've been working on. I don't have NZ1 on here yet. NZ1 is the clock tower in the first castle. So maybe we'll do that. Add that. That's always fun to add new documentation. And then we'll get working. So let's go to the console. I have a second. So the way that the progress website, soten.z.dev, is set up is to it's a separate branch in the normal Soten decomp repository. That's not my favorite way to work, but it is something that Git supports. You can have completely separate trees in completely separate repos. I mean, is it better or worse? I think what I don't like about it is that it fools people into thinking that they can check out that branch, and it's a different tree. Check out that branch in the same working set as their other stuff. It's fine. It does what it needs to do. So let's make sure that this is rebased. I'm going to rebase on upstream docs. I could put the T in and have that work better. There we go. And that looks like it's up to date. So the way that I configure GitHub Git projects, not necessarily the projects that I work on that are not in GitHub, but specifically GitHub ones, is I'll fork my own repository usually. So if it's a project like this with multiple developers on it, and there's one centralized repository that we're all trying to get our code back to, I will create my own fork and push to that, and just have a bunch of development branches there, and that's a mess. And every once in a while I'll go through and clean those up if I can get them to rebase cleanly and see if there's any outstanding changes that I need. But I take my personal fork and I make that origin, and origin is the default name for wherever you originally cloned your personal repo from. And so when I rebase on origin, it's coming from my own personal repo. When I push back to origin, it's pushing back to my own personal repo. And then I take the upstream project and I create a remote called upstream for that. And I have a ton of branches, not so much in this one, but we'll see. I have two remotes: origin, which is my own personal one, and then upstream. And usually there's a couple different ways you can do this. Usually I just copy and paste and just edit the git config manually. You can call the directory that you put this in whatever you want, as long as it's consistent. And yeah, that's just about how I do it. So what we need to do is look at public, and it is in source. There are metadata, game meta. So we have to add NZ1 in a couple different places. We'll put it right here after NZ0. And all of the initial castle lines are here at the front, and we actually have two different versions to add. We have both the PlayStation and the PSP. And then in the overlay section, we need to add an entry there as well. This is a lookup for the name. Oh, NZ1's already there. Clock tower. Wonderbar. Nothing more to do. And I should be able to run npm, and we'll see if this ends up working. This is the part that often eludes me. Oh no, you see my IP address? Feel free to find that IP address from your own local host and do with it what you will. Don't blame me though. So we'll find STNZ1 in this list. Nope, it's just going to show up as NZ1 clock tower. Here we go. And that shows up under the PlayStation section, and then we should be able to go down and find it in the PSP section as well, and this just confirms that what we did was actually working. And I'm hoping that as we go through, we're going to see these two things stay in sync and grow together at the same rate. That's the hope. And I think I'm the only person who adds anything to this list. I should go through and make sure that all the other ones are there too. So I'll add my game meta. And send that up. I always create a Git alias called hub. I started this actually the first time that I used GitHub during a job. A company that I worked for was using GitHub for its Git hosting, and GitHub is just an alias. You can create whatever aliases you want. I have it in my global Git config. Your aliases go here, and feel free to steal any of those you want. Not my name or my email address though, please. And alias will, or sorry, Git hub will force push back. All right, let's, hey Roman, good to have you back. Let's get back to NZ1, and we're looking at the Cloak Knight. And like I said, we just have the sword remaining here. There is some illegal entity extensions, and we should look at that as well. But let's work on the sword first, and then maybe we'll come back and do that. I'm going to go to the assembly, copy that. And we want to put a couple things in here. Too many tabs. Maybe that'll be my afternoon task to clean up my tabs. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I think Decomp.me wants to know I'm not a robot. Or maybe I was having some problems last night with Decomp.me. I hope I'm not being rate limited. It could be that this is that Decomp.me's down. Nope, there we go. Just slow. Last night, yeah, it was very slow for me as well. And I like to abuse my computer and have too much running at one time. And so I thought maybe it's just me, and maybe it is me. Who knows? Let me check and see how my computer's doing. I do have decomp.me running at 100% CPU. That's spicy. Maybe they're mining Bitcoin. That's a joke. They provide a wonderful service for us. This is going to be a entity extension, so I'll put the signature there just for nice. Oh, they've been having DDoSes. That's a bummer. So everybody working on decomp.me has done such a huge service to the decompilation community. Just the tools by themselves are great, but hosting all these scratches, hosting the tools, like somebody, unless it's like corporate sabotage from, powerful big game co, it would be really disappointing if individuals were doing this just to be cruel. All right, so we don't get a lot. It's actually not that big of a function. We're probably gonna, if there's an ongoing problem, we might have some issues. I have gotten this decomp.me running locally in the past, but I haven't done it recently, and it was a pain the last time I looked into it. So I'm not going to do that today. But let's see what we can do. We're going to get these compilation warnings, errors gone, and then we'll keep going from there. Looks like a lot of the same stuff, so we're going to get a previous entity, and then we're going to look at a bunch of fields that are in that previous entity, and GCC has cached the current self and did the math to look at one offset back, and found that was cheaper to do the lookup backwards than to grab a pointer to the previous entity and then do the lookup forwards. We'll see on the PSP side that that's probably the opposite. So I have the entity struct open, and we'll be using that as we go along. Try not to just type random vim move commands. We have a bunch of blocks. I'm going to get this compiling though first, and then we'll do that. So we do already have an entity var 0. Here we have self minus 2. M2C doesn't do good at pointer math. So I think what I'm going to do is move this in. We're going to take out this var self minus 2. And now we have to calculate what this offset is. So if we take 144 minus BC, that gives us offset 88. Unfortunately, that's an entity extension. I don't like that very much, but that's what it is, and so we're kind of stuck doing it. So I'm going to do var s0 ext. We'll do illegal. This is going to be the Cloak Knight himself, the static Cloak Knight. All he does apparently is store data for other entities. I don't know what the type is yet, and until this is compiling, I would have to go find what line this is, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to choose sign 16, and we start at 7C. So we would be at offset 6, I think. 152 is offset 96. That's a little more of a pain, but so we were at 88. So another 4, and then 3. So offset 13. We'll see if any of this comes to pass. Way too many parens. It's like we're writing Lisp. Oh, this should be entity ID. Oh, I see what happened. Let's assume that this is flags. It might not be. The number that was chosen here was 178. No, that is -2. I'm gonna go with this, and we'll see if it works out the way that I'm hoping it will. We don't have to worry about this. The issue that's coming up here in the saved register 0, I'm going to comment this out. It'll just get deleted later. What's happening is that there are going to be code paths, and it may not be likely that those code paths are accessible. It may be something that the compiler generated that can't actually happen, and we can look at what the logic is. But there's some code path along the way where var s0 doesn't get set. And so we're just using the value that's already in that register. And so when it is used later on, we might have an invalid pointer. I don't think that's going to be the case, and we'll see if that happens or not. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So there's certain invariants that may guarantee that never happens. For example, params may never equal 0 when we're anything but case 1. Or, sorry, I should say when we're in case 1, params is always 0. So we know that we're going to hit that case and assign that variable. We'll see. And it could be that there is no invariant like that, and it's a bug, and we could be going to an initialized pointer, which is how things like arbitrary code execution work. EC is the next entity. This is a self plus 1. So we take EC minus BC, and that gets us offset 30. Offset 30 is params. So here we're going to do, just to get this to compile, I'm going to do self plus 1. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we can create a variable. And I'm more, or I should say, mostly concerned with the PSP. The PlayStation will probably compile fine. Minus 152. So that's 96 again. So this is, we're going to set RS0 self minus 1. And when we used 152 up here, it was entity ID. I'm going to assume that it is again. That number doesn't seem right to me though. And it could be that we can't reuse that variable. We'll see. All right, then a few things down below. These are a little easier. Pos xi high. Again, this is something later, so we'll do entity minus 1, or something earlier, I should say. RS0, pos xi high. and var s0 plus x I high. And this is the Cloak Knight entity, so var s0 could be renamed that, and I think that would be a good idea. Okay, a few more. Unknown minus 80. (3C) is hitbox state. So we actually need this a little earlier. Oh, duh. It's right there. Pays to read. 1E is rotate. And 2.6 is entity ID. Weird that this is getting assigned down here. And then never, oh, and then we're going to block 22, never mind. All right, get rid of these function signatures, and this should compile. 89% isn't bad. So we have some variables to rename. I'm gonna make these breaks. Up here on line 42, we can see what happens. I'm not sure what will happen. If we make this a break, it'll jump to the end of the switch. The end of the switch is also the end of this if condition, and so effectively we return. However, technically, breaking is just going to get us to the end of the switch and not to the end of the condition, which is also the end of the function. So implicitly a break returns, but is it going to branch to the same place? Let's find out. It looks like it did. The PSP, it might not. We'll see how strict that is. There are going to be a few things here. I'm going to just copy this block verbatim, and then we'll clean it up on both sides, just in case there's different values. But var v1 is going to be the entity ID of the previous element. And so it looks like, depending on what this might be, the previous maybe 3D, which I believe is the... Is it the aura? Or it may be 3B, which is the Cloak Knight. Maybe an if-else on 144. Nope, 44. Says roaming, probably. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like it. All right, and we have one more go to. Oh, these are fun. So this is a... Oh, this is ugly. So in the branch delay slot, the result of this step is less than 9U is being done, and then it's being checked down here. And it's just a branch delay slot instruction. M2C apparently doesn't recognize that construct. So this will go here, all of this goes away. Oh, and that basically solved. That basically solved it. So I have some offsets that are wrong, kind of expected that. And we will solve those. And from the PlayStation perspective, this is done. not going to be as easy on the PSP. So 53. Oh, I didn't fix this one up. That's the issue there. My offset here is wrong. There we go. 63. Same thing is going on here. If we don't take this branch, we're going to do this less than, and so so our var s2, basically this is a clamp for var s2. So let's say greater than 38. Those are fun to reason about. And what did I get rid of the equals? And there we go. That was it. One more. My offset is wrong on 85. I chose poorly. Yeah, I typed X twice. That should be it. Oh, it's a perfect match even. So I'm going to do a few things to fix this. This is interesting. A shift by 9. Not. That's. How can we reason about that? Oh, interesting. Yuck. Let's get rid of the outer cast. When does it make a difference? The shift right logical, SRL, does it not propagate the sign bit? Let me look that up. Oh yeah, that's exactly what it does. So I've never looked it up before, and so there's SRA, shift right arithmetic, and SRL, shift right logical. The difference being, if the value's negative, shift right arithmetic will keep it negative, and it will propagate. It'll look at the top bit, propagate whatever bit that, however that's set, to the leftmost bit as it's shifting bits off the right end. Logical will shift bits off the right end, but then put zeros in regardless of what that top bit is set to. So what does that mean? So the cast here is forcing this to be unsigned. Multiply by 3. It's not a power of 2, so we don't get. I was thinking maybe this has something to do. Oh, is this some kind of wacky division? I'm guessing this is a wacky division. What is 2 to the 9th? That's 1024. So could this be like roaming suggesting divide by 512? Yeah, let's try a few things and see how they turn out. Division on fixed point systems is weird. What's throwing me off a little bit is the multiplication. So let's try like times 3 divided by 1024. The PlayStation version is going to be basically multiplied by 4096. Oh, gross. You were right. How weird. Hey, Dizzy, good to have you back. I like the lowercase markers, but generally so L's and 1s are hard to distinguish depending on the font, and so people like the capital 1 for L's, but we should be able to get rid of this. Good call. Thank you for the suggestion. PSP will tell all. That's true. It has no secrets. This is going to be a fixed 1/8, which is 0.125. Keep it in decimal for all you Europeans and Canadians and Mexicans and South Americans and Asians and Australians and everybody who's not in the US. Forgot the Africans, Middle Easterners, Indians, and Native Americans. Native American reservations probably use metric. All right. Anything else? We'll use the square macro because Project Oblivion will not be happy with me if I don't. Ooh, screwed something up. What did I break? Looks like temp S3 and temp S0. Nope. Ah, I see. These fields are signed. Clean up these vars. Oh, and the var S0, that whole thing went away. We don't have to worry about that anymore. It will come back later, though. This var v0 is never used. Do we need it? Is there something that's happening? Does not look necessary. Oh, this was, duh, this was this. Two more, and then we'll be done. Var S0. Call it scale. Var S0, we're going to call entity. So a couple things that may or may not be different. Var S0_2, we'll call that rotate. How many variables are there really? I'm gonna assume that this V0 is also rotate. We'll see. So temp S0 we'll call that offset X and offset Y. And then let's go. Let me make sure that I got those in the right order. I got them in the wrong order. Hey, Supreme Umbrella. White the umbrella. Umbrella, Ella. If you've ever played Sekiro, there's a series of YouTube videos that I use to help me get through the game. And who were those by? Me and my kids. Would watch these videos and just laugh. Who was this? Tyrannicon. Yeah. Tyrannicon. There's two things that we took out of that and repeat quite often in the house. One is now what we will do, which he says quite often, and then Umbrella Ella was the other one. Turns out to be a very easy way to cheese the boss, the final boss. Let's look at PSP. STNZ1, non-matchings, NZ1, PSP, E, Cloak Knight. Ooh, I could merge line 13 and 14. I could, you're right. Let's see. 13 and 14, yeah, I think that's reasonable. PlayStation Portable, one of the only two presets. If there is a game, oh, that was the wrong one. Pay more attention. That was Clock Knight Aura. Cloak Knight, not Clock Knight. Oh, now I have to wait. Oh no. Thank you, Supreme Umbrella. Formerly Quetzal, Supreme Quetzal. My son came home and said that one of the next things that they're doing is deriving, I can't remember what type of equation. And that made me think, my first thought was taking derivatives. Is there another something that could be deriving? Like deriving a value, I understand that, but the way it made it seem, but he's in Algebra 2. So I think they wouldn't be deriving things yet. But I don't know. Ooh, look at this. The plot thickens. We're shifting left by 3, so that implies maybe a multiply by 8. And then we get the shift by 12, which is expected. So let's try that. There is an add in here as well. So that does imply a multiply. So that gives us the add. But then still a shift by 8. I like this better. Is it correct? I don't know. So my guess is that one of these was a constant, because it doesn't make sense to put two immediate values like that. Maybe it does, I don't know. Yeah, it would be optimized into a 24, and then the PlayStation optimizer would go further, and so it would see that it's a multiply by 3 and a divide by 8, and then it would combine the 8 with the shift by 12. So let's go try that on the PlayStation. That makes more sense to me, those values, and that still works fine. Oh, PSP, thank you for existing. I shouldn't say thank you for unoptimized build. Thank you for existing. We have some signed values. It's actually nice in general that we have a even just a different compiler. It looks like, so we're grabbing offset 88, which neither of these are. And what is S1? Oh, this is grabbing... It looks like the previous, so I think our calculation to grab, so to me this reads like it's entity, almost, like entity plus 1, or maybe a parent field, 88, or a point. Yeah, okay, so there's a 0.16 that we have. 0.32, but it's actually two fixed 32s next to one another. Do we have anything like that? Like a point F32. No, I don't see that. I'm going to take a quick break and then we'll come back and finish this off. It looks pretty straightforward. Be back in a few. Thanks for the not minding. So yeah, it looks like a .32, or sorry, an F32. Oh, did I just type all up in there? I did. So we want an F32X. Here we go. Oh, pause. Duh. So this looks like a pause. I'm gonna do something not ideal, but we'll make a pause pointer that gives us a good sense of what this is, which is nice. It's gonna be at offset 6. I will have to create an entity extension, and decomp.me is probably one of the better places to do that. I'm going to take the pause, cast this as a pause pointer, and then access that. So we're going to pause XI high and pause YI high. Here we're seeing some of what I mentioned before. On 61, we make this a return by typing that word correctly. Are we going? No, it didn't change. Okay. I just want to see if we were jumping to a different place, but it doesn't. 51. We're getting some moves here that are a little different. It looks like offset X maybe. I was thinking maybe it's squared first, but not clear. We'll try it once everything else is dealt with. These are reordered. 29. Oh, we have 2 self plus 1s. And that's only being done once. There might be 2 different pointers here. We'll have to see. Not a check against 0. $23. It looks like our switch may need a few more cases. So, this, maybe it needs a few less cases. It looks like that if out there was an optimization from GCC. So that looks fine. So it looks like mostly we're just missing a variable. And let's go through it one more time just to check. 49 I missed. This is the same thing as below. We're going to be taking this, I'll just grab this line down here, grabbing the pause and using that. This is another, so GCC says, why do I need to store a local pointer when I could just calculate these offsets each time, since I'm having to calculate an offset each time anyway. which is a reasonable change. Register issues. Oh, so this does tell us that we are missing some cases. So we need one entry for each of these. Oh no, they're just backwards. That makes it seem like this is generating a jump table. And if I put the cases in, are we... Well, so we do need a... Was there a jump table in this? There is a jump table. Amazing. I'm going to put the cases in, hoping that this reorders correctly. We do need the right order. I guess I don't need 9. Never mind. I do need 5, 6, and 7. The order's still wrong. I'm a little worried about that. If we look, we have all the other cases. If we look at the jump table, it's actually a little different than I expected. So each of these is in order the cases. So 0 is going to jump to 704, 1's going to jump to 790. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8 all jump to the same place. But that can't be right. So maybe 8 is special cased. And this is the end. So what is the 8th case? Oh, 8 is down there. It's not jumping the sample. I was looking at the last digit. And my brain switches the E and the 3, so that made sense. Okay. So that's fine. So 5, 6, and 7 are just breaking. I'm a little concerned. I think that this could just be a decomp.me-ism. The fact that these are out of order. If that happens when we compile, that won't be good, and it will be somewhat hard to track down. But we'll see. So what's remaining though is the missing variable, and so let's find that. Thank you, roaming. Yeah, my brain does not see that unless I really focus in on it. The at is somewhat interesting. We're missing a variable, so I'm not going to worry about at versus v1. The compiler or linker is free to use at for what it wants, and so it can use it as a temporary. That's fine. Sometimes on the PSP, actually, I'll finish talking about that, and then we're going to check something else. So that should be fine. Sometimes on the PSP, it could mean that you have a greater than equals or less than equals instead of a less than or greater than. While I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna check this against the PSP, or PlayStation, make sure it's still working fine, and it is. And then we can start tracking our variables. On 50, Looks like offset X is S6. Here's one of those cursed move the variable and get a different answer. So we're using S5 the same way, as long as it's being used the same way. That's good. Offset Y is S4. That looks fine as well. Pause. Is S1. And that looks correct. Entity. Should be S0. Just like on the PlayStation. Make sure that one's correct. It's used two different ways, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a second one. Yeah, changing the order fixed some of the registers. Actually, it broke some of the registers. There's a missing variable, so I'm not going to worry about the order yet until we find out what the missing variable is. But yeah, it does that. Such is MetroWorks C compiler. Okay, so the end register here is S3, which is scale. There is a missing move in here. So far we haven't seen register S2. Rotate is 59. And that is S2. There's my S2. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We have no S5, so let's find S5 here and see what that is. So the arc2 artan looks like it's S5. Where did that go? On 52? Nope. Where'd my S5 go? $59. Oh, did I wrote the wrong thing down, didn't I? Yeah, okay. So this is offset Y. I wrote what mine was, not. So we're missing S4. And S4 looks like it's just being used in the middle of everything. Not for anything in particular. Not really what I want to see. Okay, so one of the things that that I changed was this was a greater or equal to 39. I think that's probably around what we're going to look at. You can see how that changes the difference by 10 instructions, and it changed the at register here to V0. Let's find other cases that might look like that. It's possible that this is... So, roaming suggested combining these conditions and making this an and. It's a possibility that that gives us something. Did not. Let's look at M2C and see what we might be missing. There could be a sign issue. It could be a bunch of different things. Interestingly, this compiles to virtually the same, or decompiles to virtually the same thing. Where it's inlining the assignment. And they did and it together. I don't mind having it separate. The returns, I've never seen those. I've seen them change offsets, like where you're jumping to, but I've not seen it change functions, or sorry, registers. So I'm not going to go down that path. Catching the wrong signature for move entity, that's not an issue. I'm not seeing anything obvious. Is this rotate ever? Yeah, this rotate is used. All right, so we have something going on that is unclear. Okay, so. It does seem like there is, so we can force some extra stack space. Oh, that doesn't work on, that works on GCC, is to just create an array of something. And that will, if I create a collider, don't use it, no, that doesn't work. GCC will happily do that extra space. Does chained variable declaration put them in the opposite stack order? That's been a thing occasionally. Possibly. Yeah, I see that too. When all of the values are 32-bit, I guess rotate here is not 32-bit. That... Okay, so this is getting, so yeah, let's try that. Let's declare this as offset X, offset Y. That did change. So we have offset X correct, but not Y. I really dislike when they're when it's just an ordering issue. But I think the bigger issue though is this move here on 52. And I'm trying to think what may be causing that. We're doing a multiply of offset X and offset Y. We have to keep those variables. So we can't destroy the value of those. The S4 register looks like it's just ephemeral. And so something is causing that to be used. Let's try this. Let's look at line 50. Make sure I mark that right as 6. Yeah, so as far as I can tell, S4 has no actual variable associated with it. Roaming saying missing S4 in the list. That is correct, but it is just being used as an intermediate register. And it's not clear what the purpose of it is. So Roaming's saying he found or made some progress. So let's try that. He suggested a second temp for scale. That is much better. Still missing these moves though. That does clear up basically all of the other registers. So let's look at this. Oh, duh. I'm gonna get rid of that. So dumb. I missed it. I was looking for it so hard and I missed it. Greater than equal to 3. Greater than 2. Oh, we still need another one. Drat. That fixes that one. Okay. I'll add another temp. No fun. I don't like when the registers get reused, and it doesn't happen frequently. Thank you, Roaming. Appreciate the help. We're still missing that S4 though. Opcode wise, yeah. The square macro is just the input times the input, so you can't actually put the subtraction in that defines those because it'll do the subtraction twice. But it is we could call it like the panda eyes operator, dead panda operator, right there. Let's move temp up. Okay, so what ends up being the issue? Here's what we can do. We have a clamp macro, and let's try that. Clamp min. No, we can't do that either. So clamp min macro is going to do the same thing. Whatever the value it takes in for the value is going to be written twice, and so it'll call that function twice. But let's do this. Let's say temp equals clamp min. Maybe doing it inline is what is missing. No. We do get a bunch of moves. Did I do that the wrong way? Clamp max? Yeah, it should be clamp max. But, oh, yeah, basically the same thing. Maybe there is no assignment. Let's keep, and maybe it is scale. How many things can we change? Yeah, the moves get, so we get some moves, but they're in the wrong place. Yeah, and we can't wrap this in clamp max because it'll evaluate square root twice, which we don't want to have happen. Matched in the family tab. Roman got it. Or should I say wild bat? I hate this. I hate it. Kill it with fire. What if we just do this? Any different? Yeah. Well, thank you, roaming. Appreciate it. I hate that. All right, we're gonna take roamings. It'd be interesting to see if we see something like that elsewhere. What if we use the same variable? Nope. So it needs... and it makes, if you look at the instructions, this makes complete sense. We're moving this into a var S4, which is what scale 1 is. But why? And then we're moving it back into scale, but why? All right. Okay. I'm not gonna question it. Let's make sure it works on the PlayStation. I don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah, it works fine there. And let's see if we can get it to compile on both. So for the PlayStation, it should be relatively easy. Not expecting any surprises. That worked fine. We have to map some variables. We have one global to map, which is the init, and might as well map that now. So we're going to call that init Cloak Knight Sword. Make sure that builds fine. And then we can get the address. Oh, do we have one other reference to it? Oh, I did the wrong one? All right, and we can get the address for the PSP version by looking at the difference here. And so make sure that everything builds. This is saying that we have a reference to this, but I don't see it. There almost certainly is a reference to it in the assembly here. Let's try it one more time. Maybe I didn't save the symbols. No. Let's do this. Let's rebuild the PSP ASM. We'll regenerate this and see. I didn't update the path here, so I was looking at an old version of that, which still existed on disk, but wasn't there anymore, or was outdated. So that needed to be fixed anyway. All right. Now the moment of truth. Does this actually work? Does it compile for the PSP? Toss of a coin. Got a karma coin ready. I toss it. Backing out a little bit of this. Build again. Not sure where that other include ASM line went. Too far. Oh, I replaced the wrong thing, it looks like. Yeah. I'm done. How do I do this? It worked! Oh my goodness. I actually did not expect it to work. Color me surprised. So I did fix the splits here. So this, I'm hoping now, this is entity Cloak Knight. So let's map that as well. It's like I've never used a computer before. I read about one in a book once. And let's do the same here. We need a symbol because there are still references, things like the symbol table or the entity lookup table that need to know where this is. So even though it's a dynamic symbol now, other things need to know where it is, and we don't have a way to link those back up. I've thought of a couple ways that we could possibly link dynamic symbols, and as part of our build where we actually generate dynamic symbol files now. And it's possible that we could reintegrate those at link time. That'd be kind of an interesting thing, and that would allow us to not have to add symbols when we need to share between C code and assembly. After the symbol change, I'm just going to build, make sure I didn't do anything stupid. Pretty common that I do. Then we're going to see if this works this time. It's possible that there was more wrong here than I thought. There might be a register mismatch here. So it doesn't like that lookup, and that's fine. I just need to change the offsets. We didn't have a signature during the decomp.me decompilation, and the last time I tried to integrate this, I didn't have one either. A lot that can go wrong, though. I will take this back to the PlayStation and just make sure that it is still compiling over there as well. So that should be fine. Something with how that is written. Vim can't find the matching bracket. All right, so NZ1 is still an issue, and let's take that, and I think I still have it open in decomp.me. Let me close out a bunch of things. I don't, but I can find it. Actually, here it is. So I'm going to copy the current version in. That was actually significantly worse. Let me back that out. So I must have fixed it here and have not integrated it back. So let's change. The only thing that should be necessary to change, I think, is the step towards args, and then changing this global name. And then I'll have to see what differences are here and try to port those back. No. Oh, these are buttons. That's fine. All right, let's look for the step towards. And I should be able to just replace all of these. Assigned 16, 11. All right, so let's try that here. And these will be different, so I can't share the implementation. I can just do diffs between them though, and try to get an idea of where the differences lie. That is the assuming this works. Sorry, I've been working in the terminal and not sharing, but I will get back to that. Go. I need to give it the right name. It had the automatic name, auto-generated name. I do think I've been using build all for about a week, and it has been working fine. So I think I'm going to submit a PR to make that the default. Yeah, so it seems like whatever's happening is causing enough additional code gen that this version ends up having to align on the next alignment boundary, which is not optimal. Let me go. It's not optimal when the alignment is completely ruined. In a kind of roundabout way, I can resplit this with the compiled version. All the offsets are wrong though, so it doesn't quite work. There is a script, and I don't use it, and I probably should use it, that will disassemble the ELF file that gets generated, and that wouldn't be affected by offset differences. I should look into that because that's probably the way to go to figure out where the difference is. But let's look at the assembly and see if we can tell from the diff. Line 23 versus line 22. Yeah, I'm not concerned with white space issues, but I think that's what you're referring to. There's something a little more sinister. Cloak Knight. What I want to find here is what is the offset in the file. And then I'm going to do my diff and jump down to that location. So the way the PSP is organized, code comes first. So there will be differences earlier on, but those differences will all be addresses that have shifted, and so I don't need to worry about those. So I should be able to go down to 11,030 and or thereabouts. Looks like it's not quite on that line. And see where approximately this is happening. So it's going to be after 11,000. So it looks like it's in this 630 area. And that could be addresses. Somewhere in here, there should be a multi-line change, and it looks like it's here. No, what I'm expecting is the instructions to shift pretty dramatically. It could be towards the end. Right now, when we look at the diff, it would be nice if I had a colored diff here, but there's just like single character differences, and those most likely are addresses that have changed. Let me see what this function goes to. It only goes to 11cc. So there's no jump table in this function, but it's possible that it's generating a jump table. So we can look at the map and see if that's happening. So build PSP-EU, there will be a stnz1 map file. And we can look at eCloakNight and try to find the RO data. There's a couple things that would be nice to find, but unfortunately, I didn't grab. Let's do this. Let's do a good build. And then copy this map. And then go back to the bad build. And then we'll compare the maps. Get diff, but just a regular diff. So our stnz1 map in the root of the repo is going to be what the alignment should be. And we can look for Cloak Knight here. And so the addresses aren't the biggest concern. So, oh, there's data in one and not the other. That is a concern. So something is showing up in data. There is data here from this print. And depending on the compilation unit, it's possible that this is actually integrated into whatever's before it and is sharing. That's my guess, is that this is sharing that string with something else, so it's not cleanly in its own compilation unit. That's going to be my guess. So we have, yeah, that a second copy of that Caral string And we can go to that and see if that is the case. So RO data is the same size. Yes, the only difference is we have 11 bytes of data that maybe it's just not assigned properly. So let's look at the splat config. Maybe that's all it is. Not NO, NZ1. So I want E Cloak Knight. And I don't have data. So that's it. Pretty simple. So we need to figure out where that data is, where it should live, and what we need to pull it out of. So we need the data to come in the same order as the RO data and the C. So Cloak Knight is after Harpy and before Sword Lord. And it doesn't look like it is there, so it's going to be in this section of data here somewhere. What's interesting about strings, GCC treats them as RO data, which if you had a system that allowed you to set flags on different pages of memory, you could flag those pages as read-only. But Metroworks treats it as data, so technically it's mutable and you can change those strings. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. And it's kind of a philosophical difference when you type a string in C. Is that a static final string or not? So let's look at that Caral text. Do I have this open somewhere still? Don't. It's SPEU. STNZ1. Non-matchings. NZ1 PSP. eCloak. And then what do we want? We want entity Cloak Knight. So there's going to be a call to font print. It's going to have an A0 argument. And that A0 argument is this value here. And that is where our strings. We go all the way back up the tree to data. And find where that is. It is probable that this cloak anim that comes before it is also part of Cloak Knight, but this becomes kind of a challenge. So we have some data that isn't in there yet. GCC is treating the cloak anim as data, but then Caral as RO data. So what I think I'm gonna do is split uh 25E. This is not what I expected. This is well into C. Oh, I'm looking at US. That's... Revert that. Oh, and now I screwed up my... What did I do here? Oh, let's do this. That is one downside to the build all target. If you get a check that runs first and fails, like the PSP-EU one just did, it won't run subsequent targets. I'll have to look at Ninja to see if there's a way to force a target to be run, because I think that'd be the optimal behavior. So I'm looking at the wrong splat config, which is why this isn't making any sense to me. We'll get to the right one, and then we should be able to do what we need to do. All right, so we have the RO data. We don't have the data. So at offset 25ED8, I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to make a note that this is should be for Cloak Knight. I'm going to make another split right at the beginning of the string. This is going to be a dot data, which means get it from the C file. And this one is going to come from Cloak Knight. And then I'm going to make a third split. It's going to be an auto-generated split that doesn't come from the C file. And it's going to reference this, which I don't think is related to Cloak Knight. So I think the amount of data that we need to deal with for Cloak Knight is relatively small. Just going to check to make sure. Yeah. So another split here at 25EF8. And then build. Okay, still broken. Let's see if we can tell it. So what may be happening, I may need to bring this in. The padding may not be working as expected, and that can happen. Let's look at the difference between these. So the sections are named slightly differently. NZ1 PSP versus data. That's not a big deal. What we want is where is the difference? Where are the differences in values? Yeah, I think it is. Let's just import that data and be done with it. So we know what the cloak anim is. This is actually kind of a tricky thing too, and I noticed this earlier. The order that you define globals in PSP, especially for BSS, isn't necessarily the order that they're going to show up in BSS. So I'm going to try to put this close to the function that uses it, but it might not work out that way. So I'm going to grab this data. And so this is still a little endian, so we have 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 6. And then in Splat now, the whole thing is Cloak Knight. So we can get rid of this. And hopefully that's all it was. Okay, so what is our at 53 reference and text? Define in discarded data section. Oh, duh. Wrong type. It needs to be a dot data instead of a data. It still might be wrong, and it could be because those that array is out of order. So I'm gonna it shouldn't be extern. It should be static. I'm gonna move this up to the top to get it into the right order, and we'll try one more time. Hopefully that's all it is, and it's still not. All right, so I'm gonna have to muck around and see if I can tell what's going on here. Oh, there could be some zeros. Yeah. Let's see if we can tell what the size of the cloak anim is. We can't. So let's try that. We'll get it. If I would find the animation and use Soten assets, I may be able to get a better idea of what that size actually is. Let's do a diff stage. It could be actually that it is yeah, just a little bit of data. So we have 16 bits too small. Try this one more time. See how that value changes. Commas don't work. Semicolons only. Okay, so that is wrong. Yeah, so we have a F8 versus D8 here. So something with, oh, now that we have the right size-ish, let's move that back down. I'm gonna do this instead. I'm gonna undo, get that back to the right place. No idea how many elements are actually in there, just that they're padded. That's even more wrong. So it is in that order, which is good to know. So what I need to do is just go through this and figure out what's causing. Oh, this actually might not be related. So we're at this offset +8. Let's go look at what that instruction is. This is the Cloak Knight Eonit. That's wrong. Wrong symbol. So on the PSP, I did sword here. Did I do sword down here? I did. That was the issue. Everything's fine. Nothing is wrong. We got it. Okay. A bunch of missteps. But now we do have something that's pretty close to being done. We have to do a diff between this and the US one, US version. There are some changes that need to be made. And so I'll do that offline, and we'll see if these can be made into the same thing or not. So for the most part, though, it looks like we have Cloak Knight done. I'm going to get that cleaned up and get a PR out for that. Like I said, I do think that this shows up elsewhere, and so it'd be good to have done. I do want to do a demo, I think, later this week. I've been thinking about the tools that we have for matching, and one of the neat things with some of those tools is that we can grep around to find other stages that have the same or similar segments. And so something like Cloak Knight, if we have a pretty good idea that this is its own compilation unit, we can compile that, grab the code related to that, and look in all of the other overlays and see if it shows up there as well, or function by function as well. So I think I want to focus on cleaning this up first, but then we can do something like that. We've been decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and if you want to know more, go to soten.z.dev. We are getting closer. By no means are we done. Zianimo, I'm going to go with what he says. It's his project. He said in Discord the other day that he thinks we're about 70% of the way done. We don't have most of the reverse castle started yet, except for a handful of things, reverse warp and reverse keep. Those are both done. And we should be able to match a lot more. There are unique enemies. Bosses do take longer than most things, but we'll get there. No problem, Dizzy. Thanks everybody again for joining. Mr. Mitty, I didn't see your comment. I will talk to you. So I mentioned Mr. Mitty had a nice vibe coding video that he posted a couple months ago, and I finally got around to watching it and realized that he may know something that I want to know. But that's all I got. I will see y'all tomorrow. Adios.